The very thing that you've been running from might be the thing running you, right? What you avoid controls you, right? Think about that for a second. Now let's unpack. So, how is avoidance quietly taking control and making you live a life that you're not meant to live? Making you live a life that's below what you're destined to be, right? Let's talk about what avoidance is, right? It's not just procrastination, right? It's an emotional escape. You may be avoiding conversations, decisions, feelings, and just responsibilities, or even simply your own thoughts. And when you're doing this, you're giving yourself the illusion of control, right? You think that avoiding these things is actually somehow allowing you to have peace, when in reality it's just creating silent anxiety. For example, if you're trying to avoid a tough conversation, it doesn't remove the fact that the conversation still needs to happen. All it does is multiply the weight of it internally, right? It builds more tension. Like, here's a key thought. You can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. You can ignore reality, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality. So how does avoidance control you? It grows in the dark, right? What you don't control festers. Like if you had an unpaid bill that was collecting debt on it, right? You have emotional debt, right? Which can pile up until it just demands your attention, and it forms stress and creates anxiety and in a lot of cases regret, right? You start to live in the past. And this might come from a place where you just have a fear of failure, I should say. Maybe a fear of rejection because you're not pursuing relationships or goals that allow you to avoid disappointment, right? So you're trying to avoid the idea of disappointment, but you're running away from it. And fear of failure is pretty self-explanatory, right? You're choosing to stay stuck in the same place because you don't want to understand or actualize the reality of what could happen, right? And then might simply boil down to like emotional avoidance, right? Numbing through distractions. So you might be on social media, you might be overeating, you might just be trying to work rather than spending your time healing, right? Spending your time growing. And this allows it to have a silent control, right? You plan your life around what you fear and you don't even realize it. And I want you guys to understand, you can gain freedom from this by simply facing it, right? The truth is, fear is often worse than the reality. The monster in your mind is often bigger than the ones in real life. Who's heard that quote, right? When you're facing fears, you have to reduce their power because fear thrives in the unknown. If it's something you've never done before, you're going to give yourself any reason to not do it. You're going to simply and essentially build up a space for fear to take over, right? But the thing is, growth only happens in that space of discomfort, right? Every major breakthrough in your life requires facing something uncomfortable, right? To quote a really, really good quote here is, courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward despite it. And you guys know I like to reference, biblical verses when I can. So I'm thinking of 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7, right? Where it says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind." God has not given us a spirit of fear. So why are we being fearful, right? Why are we allowing something like that to control us when we have the power to break it? You need to identify what you're afraid, what you're avoiding, right? So I need you to write down, what's the one thing I know I need to face but keep putting off, right? Awareness is the first step to freedom. When you can actually realize what's the problem or what you're trying to run from, it allows you to attack it, right? Because if you're running from something you don't know, you could be running from a kitten thinking it's a cheetah, right? But if it was a kitten, you probably would turn around and say, hey, you know what? Let me pet it a little bit, And this in itself is just like a really great example of fear not being as big as you think it is, right? You have to take a small step. You just break it down. You don't have to face everything all at once. You say, hey, today, anxiety. Today, I'm going to do one thing that I normally wouldn't do, but I'm going to try that today. I'm going to face it just a little bit, right? And you just have to shift the narrative, right? Why are you asking yourself what could go wrong when you should ask yourself, what if it goes right? You have to reframe fear as an opportunity for growth, right? You have to build a support system, right? You don't have to face everything alone. Share something with family or a friend or someone like you that you trust, right? Just kind of create that space. And when you're doing this, you're going to find yourself not alone, right? Because fear grows and thrives in the unknown. If you're running from something you don't know, of course you're going to start to feel fear, right? But you just have to regain your control. So a couple final thoughts I want you guys to leave with is the things you avoid don't disappear. They just quietly control you from the shadows. The moment you face them, you take back your power. I need you guys to just sit here and really think about this message, and I actually hope it's helped someone out there just gain a different perspective, because reality is life is not as scary as you think it is. Life that you create in your mind is the only thing. Like, if you think life is scary, it's because you're creating fear in your mind. It's not like that in actuality, right? You're stronger than what you fear, and it's time that you got up and just proved it to yourself, right? If you guys like this, I do have a community linked in my bio that you can join, and we talk about all different types of media and content, just these concepts as well. And I release these videos there. Holy shit! What the fuck is this? Ah, it's a hummingbird. Yo. Ah, Jesus Christ! It's not me. Don't get in my hair, bro. Don't get in my hair, bro.